Login accepted.
All right, it's Ariel. It's 12:05. Did y'all sign in and everything? Just making sure. Okay, for sure. All right, so today's workshop will be on reverse engineering. All right, so who am I? My name is Jessica Satyadi, and y'all also know me as Arsenic on Discord. I'm co-president and also co-chair of Tech Symposium along with Molly. Now, I will make a quick disclaimer. I'm in no way a reverse engineer sweat, like at all. I just know enough to get what I want. So a lot of this will be from my own experience, just screwing around and finding out. All right, so table of contents, we'll be going over what is reverse engineering, tools, the workflow, and resources. Also, this workshop might be a bit short, but you will experience your own reverse engineering lab on Friday. So there's that. All right, so what exactly is reverse engineering? I'm trying to make it mid-engaged. Do any of you guys want to raise your hand? I don't know, take a shot at it. Yeah. And whoever's in the audience, whoever's in Zoom, there's like me and Darren right here. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Question is what
Yeah.
it's just finding out how something works through just the output that you.
Um, yeah, pretty much. I mean, reverse engineering is a deconstruction of a product, exactly what you mentioned. So yeah, there's an output, and then you try to figure out what exactly causes that output, right? So that is what reverse engineering is. It's a deconstruction of a product. Usually, when people do any sort of reverse engineering, it's for analyzation purposes or maybe even enhancement of a product. Because when you know how a product works, you can make a lot of changes to it, right? An example, these are some form of a bit of a unconventional example. So like copycat food recipes. Maybe you like how Oreos taste and you want to make your own, but obviously they're gatekeeping the actual race recipe, right? For money purposes. So you try to reconstruct it on your own. And then, of course, decompiling binaries, making third-party products. There's also gene editing with CRISPR. Technically, that counts as reverse engineering because you know how your gene works, and then you try to do a little bit of editing here and there. I don't know the moralities of that, but all right. So why do people typically do reverse engineering? If you're going on a path of malware, typically you'd use it for malware analysis. You've also done this in CTF competitions, usually in Pico CTF, or even in any other CTF competitions that you'll come across. There will be a reverse engineering section. There's also one for vulnerability research, maybe for fun, if any of you like reverse engineering. Usually, a lot of people would also like to know an in-depth knowledge of how a product works. If you guys like to go into rabbit holes, there's another one that's perhaps also a bit unconventional, which are bypasses. So usually, let me give you an example. So you guys know how in Chegg you scroll down, and then when you try to find an answer, it's either blurred or like, oh, you need to log in. People can reverse engineer it to bypass those sensors. I, as president of Cybersecurity Club, do not condone any of that, and many more. All right, so there are two different approaches from what I've noticed. It is an, can you guys see? Hold up, let me just move that real quick. There you go, static analysis, which is reading the code without running said code. You literally just read what you have. So examples would be disassembling and decompiling. So disassembling are converting binaries to low-level assembly language. I've noticed that it's a bit more, I don't know about if it's a bit more, but it's rather accurate, like one-to-one, because it's from a lower level language, from binaries to like a lower level language. But then there's also decompiling, where you also convert binaries, but it's more of a higher level code, so like C or Java. There's also dynamic analysis, where you watch the code while running said code. It's essentially to analyze and observe what kind of code not really what kind of code behavior, that sounds a bit strange, but you're essentially seeing, okay, this code is running like this. What exactly does each line do? And an example would be debugging. So using debuggers like X64DBG, that's a debugger, and then observing the code live, at least in reverse engineering context, because I think there's a lot of terms in tech where you just kind of throw around the meetings and it kind of loses the meaning, or maybe it's different in different contexts. Like debugging, for example, when you look at your code and it's awful and it doesn't run and you need to make it run. That's like also debugging, right? And the debuggers are dynamic analysis because you actually need the program to be running. All right, let me move you back to the corner there and sorry. All right, so tools. There's a lot of tools for reverse engineering. I have Ghidra on my laptop. Ghidra is completely free. It's developed by the NSA, so you know it's the real deal. There's also IDA Pro. It is not free. X64DBG, which is something that I mentioned, that's also free. Online GDB is also free. It's literally also web-based, so you don't even need to download anything. OllyDBG is free. There's also GDB. I don't know why the words are so scrambled, like GDB, DBG, whatever. And then there's also CRISPR. If any of you are interested in biomedical research, it's free for academic and nonprofit research. Binary Ninja is also free depending on what you're exactly using it for, but there's also it's like tiers. Like, oh, you can use this for free, but if you use more than this certain amount of tools that we're providing you for free, it's going to be really expensive. You can also experiment in the kitchen. I don't know, groceries are a bit expensive nowadays, I fear. I think Aldi's pretty good though. I think you can get like $2 for a dozen of eggs, but I might be lying. All right. All right, so a workflow example. So at some point when I was doing a fast X Swift CTF, there was a reverse engineering problem that I created, which is titled lock.c. And what it does is essentially a password checker to see if the password you put in is correct. And if it's correct, you know, the output will show up. And this is an example of how lock.c and online GDB works. As you can see, this is like the whole code. All right, so first and foremost, we start with a static analysis workflow. So you just read the code and analyze it. This is the first chunk of the code. So it's a C code, it's a .c extension. You can tell that's a C code because of that. There's also an anti-debug where I mentioned this to one of our members where essentially sometimes code will literally shut down if it detects a certain application that's also running while you're at it. And in this case, it's a debugger. And anti-debug will be if an anti-debug is spotted, it just doesn't run. And there's also something called a ptrace, which is essential in Linux for debugging. So if you were to debug this in Linux, it literally just shuts down because of this chunk right here. All right, the next chunk. So there's this ROL function where essentially it literally says rotates left. This is for scrambling bits. So like you guys know binaries, right? 1 0 1 1 0. That literally just rotates the binaries. And there's an unsigned card that's just a function in C where it takes in exactly 8 bits, and this is actually pretty essential to rotating uh the bits because it just makes it cleaner. All right, so there's a transformation input spotted, which is pretty good in our case because this is how the password is being scrambled. There's a lot of math going on here. Essentially, what it does is that the function takes your input length, loops it, and then grabs the current character and then shift it to the left by 3 because, you know, rotating left. And then XOR with a hexadecimal 0x5a, which is XOR is like a conditional statement where it just flips bits. Actually, real quick, I don't know if you guys noticed that if else statement, it's like kind of a red herring. Would any of you guys happen to like take a shot as to why it's a red herring? Or like would know why? If not, that's okay. I just want engagement. No. No, not the equal zero. That one's all right. It's like the if else statement. There's like two what you're saying. You want to say something? But-
Either way, you get the same result.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it gets the same result. If you see here, C equals rotating left, and take C and then it just shifts to the left by 3 times. It's like the same thing here. Like, why are you there? That's pretty useless. So yeah, you're right, Molly. All right, so next, this is low-key the meat of it. This is a lot of hexadecimals. So K3 is just something, it's just a storage in this case where essentially it stores like scrambled hexadecimal values and check the input. And then the E flag is also storage, but this is important because, well, that's the flag, that's the key. But yeah, we want to know what that is. And the reveal flag here is just a decoder for E flag. There's also the 0x55. There's also another hexadecimal right there. And then here is our lock mechanism where it checks for inputs, right? So there's this BUF right here, which is pass to transform input. In here, transfer input, comma, BUF. And what it does is that it fills the BUF with the scrambled version of whatever the heck you're inputting in here. And then it checks how long your input is compared to K3 because it has 9 characters and then XOR with 0, which again, red herring doesn't really change anything. All right, so this is our main body, and this is how everything's, start and how it runs in general. So what it does is, again, it checks for a debugger, right? Anti-debug. And then afterwards, it checks for an input. It wants a maximum of 64 characters. And then it just lets you know that this program is locked, like all the printf, just letting you know that it's a password checker. And then if you get it right, it unlocks. If you get it wrong, then it denies you. Exit the program immediately. Okay, so now we're transitioning to dynamic analysis. So it says locked, enter password. I put whatever that is in there, access denied, and it just exits code immediately. So that's it. If you get it wrong, it exits out. So we know that we want a flag, right? From E flag and then reveal flag. We know that there's a flag in there. But how do we get said flag now that we analyze the code? Does anyone wanna answer? You can answer anything, I promise. No. No. Okay. Well, because we have our code, you can just edit it however you'd like. Now we know how it works and what to do, right? You can just essentially edit it. So back to static analysis, you just comment out anti-debug. You don't want that running because I want to debug this. Obviously, if there's an anti-debug, that's gonna be kind of bad because it exits us immediately. So there's that. And then second, we make a password cracker where we essentially reverse everything that this is doing along with this. And then we just take that in and then put it in here. This is what we're reversing. So it undoes the XOR, right? It unscrambles and unscrambles the bits and then undoes the rotating left by rotating it 3 times to the right. It, yeah, runs the transfer input backwards. Okay, we run that, switching back to dynamic analysis once more. It's kind of cracked. Like you can see the hexadecimals by 0 until 8. Some parts are questionable, but that's perfectly fine because we have the hexadecimals. As long as we have the original hexadecimals, that's done and dusted. That's not really needed, at least in this case. All right, back to static again, because we're purely doing this on online GDB we have to create another set of code where we essentially replace the block with the original hexadecimals that we found. If it was in Kali Linux, you can just like input it all at once and then it'll run it immediately. But I wanted to show you guys how the website works. So using the original hexadecimal, this unsigned char password is being put directly in here after using the original hexadecimals. And yeah, the flag is found. So that was the flag. I'd like to shout out this person named RJ Cyber. This dude's from USC. And he told me the password, and then I was like, it should be right. But then I recalled that I didn't change the original password in the Excel sheet. So he was right about this. So I have to thank him for that. All right, so lastly, resources. These are the resources that you can use for anything reverse engineering. Pragme.1 is really hard because it's literally people made. There's hardly any walkthroughs at all. And sometimes it can even just be full with errors and you wouldn't know it. PicoCTF is, of course, always reliable. It's made by Carnegie Mellon. They're really, really good with what they do. There's also something called microcorruption.com. Has any one of you heard of that before? No? If any of you are interested in hardware security modules and reverse engineering firmwares, it's pretty good for what it does. It actually takes you through it. It's like it gamifies it. There's also always Try Hack Me, and there's also always Hack the Box. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. It's really, really short. Do any of you guys have any questions or anything from my experience in reverse engineering? Quite crap today. What's up?
So what is your approach to learning entire coding languages if you are just starting?
Approaches in different coding languages?
To learning coding. Business, yes, major, where do you get started?
I'm also not a CS major, by the way. I'm a CIS major, guys. Just a heads up. Usually what I'd like to do is I'd like to find patterns in things. I generally find that a lot of coding languages are a bit similar in a lot of their composition, especially when it comes to higher like level languages. Like if we were to go back in here, like if else, already that's like what Python, right? Python uses if else. There's I want to say I forgot if Java uses if else. I think Java uses if else, right? Like Java if else statements. A lot of it I fear a lot of it boils down to a lot of logic statements like if, or, and operands, and that makes it very easy for me to kind of intuitively know like, oh, this at least does that, and we know that something is being like obfuscated because we can see let's see, like here. This is technically being obfuscated, right? Because they're rotating to the left, rotating to the right, and a lot of the hexadecimals, those are codes that only machine can read. We can't really read it. We have to translate it through multiple layers. Does that make sense, Molly, or would you like me to explain furthermore? I feel like I got like sidetracked there. Bro just says, okay, cool, thanks. What's up?
As someone who has no experience in coding at all,
Mm-hmm.
how do you recommend that they get started with this? Yeah, exactly.
It's really just watching tutorials and guides. I mean, like you said, there's a bunch of languages, but I'd say for these types of challenges, you might want to learn C because most of these challenges are in C and C++. Also, almost every language has been built off of C. Like like Python is literally an interpreter that is written in C. Almost every other language is based off C. So if you can read C, then you could read pretty much any language.
Yeah, pretty much. I completely agree with what Darren said. A lot of the languages, they are like they're pretty applicable for practices. Like for example, if you have any of you work with VMware or Proxmox, they're virtualization machines, right? If you know how VMware works, chances are you don't need as much training in Proxmox. It's because the concept is the same. So it's things like that. What's up?
Yeah, there's also this YouTuber named Bro Code. I'm making my way through his 12-hour course.
Bro code?
Yeah.
Oh,
Look it
dude,
up.
that's true.
It has like tutorials for like Python, Java, C, MATLAB.
Oh, that's useful.
Just use learn X and Y minutes.
Learn what?
Called learn X and Y minutes. You just learn first. No, it's just called learn X and Y minutes. It's a website.
It's a website?
Yeah. And it's.
Oh my, bro. 12 hours long.
Yeah, I'm halfway through it. I'm taking Java right now.
Oh.
For Python, it's like way cheaper. Like that's.
Mhm. I'd also like to add, if you can reverse engineer or at least know enough to reverse engineer, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy what you can do. Because as long as you know how the code is like compiled or like edited, you can do about whatever. Like, oh, I was gonna you can build like a whole completely new program using other programs. That's what I meant by third-party applications too. Like I know for sure that where's that section right here? Yeah, see, making third-party products. A lot of people that I've noticed in cybersecurity or in general, a lot of people like things to be convenient, free, you know, at the cost of our hands. So if you just know enough to get what you want out of it, it's pretty useful to go around code and whatnot. And if you guys have questions, I feel like I went way too fast, or is it just a lot to take in?
I think it's still a lot to take in, like if you're not experienced with it, but you explain everything well.
Oh, thank you. Have any of you guys reverse engineered or anything before? I know you have.
There's like some MCL is.
Oh,
quite immersive.
the NCL challenge just goes kind of crazy. Yeah, I agree. It is, I will say also, reverse engineering is a really, really hard field. I talked to my buddy Dylan. I don't know any of you guys know Dylan Tran. Yeah, yeah, CPTC, but also a former IBM employee. I we actually had this conversation yesterday because I told him, dude, I'm gonna do a reverse engineering workshop, right? And he's really good at what he does. He was a previous adversary simulator, so he was showing me about malware that that he downloaded from Malware Bazaar, and just essentially reverse engineered it in Windows 10. He did just enough to understand how the malware works, and that was pretty much it. It was nice to know how the workflow is everything, and are any of you guys familiar with Electron as well? Electron is, I don't know if it's necessarily a language. Yes, that's the thing that Discord runs. And there's a lot of application that uses Electron as well. Like, for example, Obsidian. Are any of you familiar with Obsidian, the note taking? I love Obsidian, so good. Obsidian also uses Electron, and so did the malware that Dylan was researching. But um I don't know, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's something I generally like because I think a lot of you guys need to know more about it, even though it's like a really hard field. But yeah. If you guys also want to apply for board and do the things that we do, feel free to do so. Deadline is May 1st. Deadline is May 1st. And yeah, when you apply, we'll interview you to find your best fit. And then if you are interested into doing a summer research with our student data center, apply to be intern. If you guys want to know more about our SDC and SOC, the president himself is right here. So if you guys want to know, Yeah.
Thank you for the shout out.
no problem. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't I'm glad I got engagement at least. I'm glad you guys are following through. But yeah, you'll do more on Friday, I promise. If you guys would like to leave, feel free. If you guys want to interact, feel free. If any one of you have any questions or comments, concerns, slash criticisms,
What-
yes,
What's one skill set you think is crucial for reverse engineering?
a one skill set that you think is crucial in reverse engineering, pattern finding. Yeah, so remember when I told y'all that Discord uses Electron, so does Obsidian, and so does like the malware that Dylan was researching? If you know something has a like template to it, it's a guarantee that almost every single thing has that same template. So it's easier to find anything that stands out or anything that's completely different from the rest. And it just makes your operations significantly more smoothly. So yeah, that's pretty much one skill set that I'd recommend. Since actually, Tony, since I know you've also reverse engineered stuff, what
Not like
not me.
one class, so okay.
Okay. Anything interesting from it?
Yeah, I think you can add class.
I love Ghidra, dude. Don't diss on Ghidra like that. Has any of you touched Ghidra actually? No. It's pretty hard. Or not? It's hard? Okay. Feel free to talk, by the way. I'm sorry if like I don't know if I'm keeping you here or anything. Like feel free to leave or like talk or anything like that. It's a really short workshop today because I didn't want to like overwhelm a lot of people.